We think you can hear us now.
Check, check. Mic check.
652 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane. Continuing. I was told I say rolling right along too much. I do.
Rolling. Sorry.
I don't know. It's one of the things I say. By the way, we're up and running on Facebook Live now. We got a little, we had to take the Facebook Live feed to Lake Urgent Care. You know, it needed some urgent care and got it. So we are up on Facebook Live, courtesy of Lake Urgent Care. Legally served with attorney Franz Borghard continuing right now. As we were heading to the break, we're talking about the fatal shooting of King of the Hill actor Jonathan Joss. This is being portrayed in the media as a hate crime. San Antonio police, police who responded, I believe it was San Antonio, say there is nothing about this that shows hate crime. And yet that's what leads the story everywhere you turn.
So I'm going to say something that may get me in trouble. I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be popular. I'm going to say something that may offend somebody.
Okay.
When you're dealing with a homicide, where you're probably looking at either a death penalty or a life sentence, it doesn't really matter if it's a hate crime or not. It may go to motive. It may go to why the crime happened, but to try to enhance penalties by charging additional, harder to prove crimes, it's not getting you anywhere different than if you just convict the murderer for murder. Now, it's different if you have a gas station robbery where someone says, you in the wrong neighborhood, right?
Okay, but that's a one-way street as far as what makes that a hate crime or not.
Right. However, your enhanced penalties in that case may be leverage. In a murder case, like if we were in Louisiana, which we are, and you wanted to enhance a murder case based on the hate crime component, it doesn't really change anything. And
Right.
I'm not saying it's okay to do hate crimes. I'm saying you're just making the prosecutor's job a little harder.
So, okay, here's where I'm going with this. And there's the he said, she said. Everything from the scene made it sound like Joss was going off on anybody he could find. Like he was just yelling at, ripping into, and intimidating people that were around him. Then his husband comes back and says someone was shouting homophobic slurs before shooting him. Now, the person who shot him was arrested. Right. And that person's statement is basically in line with all the witnesses' statements as well, that, no, this wasn't about that. This was Joss going off. So at what point does it become unprovable? And if it's unprovable, aren't we all just bigots for turning a blind eye to this hatred?
Well, what's not going to help the DA's office is the cop saying, we don't see a hate crime. Right. That's not going to help the prosecution for a hate crime. If there's no hate crime, why are we trying to fit, and I mean no pun behind this, why are we trying to fit something into a place it shouldn't fit? It doesn't, you don't have to prosecute. You can call it a hate crime, but if we're talking about prosecuting it as a hate crime, you're imposing a higher standard of difficulty on your prosecutors than if they just prosecute for murder.
Right. Because it's harder to prove it's harder to prove that is what was in particular the motivator here.
Right. Proving somebody shot somebody, much easier.
Yes.
Proving what is the basis and reason for you shooting. By the way, under the law, in most jurisdictions, you don't have to prove motive. Did you know that? Guys, did you know that? You don't have to prove motive. It's good for TV, but you don't have to prove motive. Now, jurors want to know, hey, why did this person shoot this person? We want to know why, but it's not an element of the crime in most places. So why make it harder to convict somebody? Now, does it make us feel good, warm and fuzzy that, hey, we're calling it a hate crime, we're prosecuting it a hate crime, so we're going to discourage hate crimes? I don't know that it's going to discourage hate crimes.
I don't think it does, by the way. I don't think that changes hearts and minds because you have protected classes under the law. So, and we're not all equal under the law when it comes to something like that. Now, let's re-enter the rest of the scenario here. We're talking about a feud that's been ongoing between Joss and his neighbors for a couple of years now. Police have been called out on numerous occasions, and Rewind the clock back to January, where Joss's home it was burned to the ground, and his pets were killed. Okay, that would escalate things to me. I want to know why that hasn't been investigated. Well, why we're not learning about whether or not that was an arson, and if it was, where's the recourse on that? Because if my home's burned down, let's say by someone I've got a beef with, then oh my goodness gracious, that changes the entire scenario, doesn't it?
If you're listening, maybe you have good neighbors. Maybe you live in a world where you have good neighbors.
I got great neighbors.
But if you live in a place where you have a bad neighbor and you're feuding with that neighbor, that sucks.
Yeah.
And those are, by the way, those are the worst cases to deal with, because even if you win, guess where you're going home?
Right
next to your
door.
neighbor.
Yeah.
I suspect this was based on a lot of things. Now, were there hate slurs thrown in the mix? Sure. Doesn't mean that was the basis of the crime. The basis of the crime, it sounds like we've kind of unpacked that, was a neighbor dispute.
Yeah.
By the way, that will work for a motive. By the way, don't have to prove motive, but that will work for the why.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. Like, you know who really damaged the hate crime world?
Thank you. I know right.
Jesse Smollett.
Jesse or Jussie?
Juicy?
It was Jussie, yeah.
Because there are hate crimes that happen in the world.
Yes.
But what the optics of that case did was it made it look silly.
Okay, now let's say I have all the murderous rage in the world. Okay,
right?
And I'm hell bent on killing somebody.
Sure.
If I have motive to kill them already, and then I
throw
shout,
you throw out a little slur.
I throw out a slur. Has that now advanced and escalated?
Sure.
See, that's the part I have a problem with.
But it doesn't change.
I was going to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
the fact that I'm calling you an expletive has nothing to do separate and apart. The problem is, I circle back to what I said before. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Doesn't change the fact you still murdered somebody. The penalty is still the same. Like, why are we just failed to pass a tax in our own parish.
Yeah.
Why are we going to make our DA's job harder?
Right. Okay.
See how I just went all over the place.
Thank you for justifying my rage. And by the way, if anybody had motive in this case, it was Dale Gribble. Nothing? All right, fine. He's Franz Borghard. We do Legally Served every week. Always appreciate the time, brother.
All right.
Here comes news.
So while I'm still here.
Because John Redcorn was plowing Dale Gribble's wife the whole time.
Whose voice was
he? Was John Redcorn.
Which one? I didn't watch King of the Hill. Okay. So an Indian playing.
Yeah. Just like he played on Parks and Rec.
Wait.
He played a Native American on Parks and Rec.
He was a gay Native American?
Yeah, dude.
That's like a unicorn. I like it. My issue is this. Everybody that is screaming and shouting that it should be a hate crime are going to be the ones not prosecuting this.
Right.
Like, we already have crimes that protect people of all walks of life. And I tell you, this is just, it doesn't feel like this is the one. So anyways, bye, guys.
Enjoy Our Lady of the Blessed Cheese. You like that? Yeah. Yeah. Safe travels.
thanks, Troy. He says, I'm back on the club level. I did enjoy hearing some of John's sweet bumper music. Thanks, man. I try.
Okay. Hey, Rich.
Hey, what's up, dude? What's up, player? What up, player? What up, dog? Hey, what you doing, man?
Oh, you know, little radio show. This day in 1980.
Talk to me. Wait. Oh, I got something that ain't any. No, you tell me.
No, I got something that's going to blow
You
your
tell
mind.
it. It will.
It's going to blow your mind that I
I
even
was
know
thinking-
this.
I had 80, but it was because of Scott.
Okay. This day in 1980, Major League Baseball draft. The Yankees didn't have a first or second round pick. Do you know who they took in the third round?
I'm gonna go with the guy out of Lafayette. Who?
Closer to home. Billy Cannon Jr.
No kidding.
And he goes. He went to play football for Texas A&M instead of going.
Baltimore High School.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. How's that for a little nugget?
Well, you won today.
Oh man. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Busy hour this hour. State Representative Dixon McMakin in our next segment. State Representative Josh Carlson, the segment after that. Miss Louisiana, Olivia Grace George, before we close out the hour. Don't forget, next hour, we're talking about the impact of the Super Bowl with Jay Cicero, and we've got State Representative Paula Davis joining us as well. Oh, and, Congresswoman Julia Letlow for a little D.C. Current presented by LABI. Right now, we start off your second hour with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Since we're done with the bear for now, let's move over to coyotes. There have been numerous sightings recently, and now it's making its way into the news. WBRZ's 2 on Your Side reported yesterday on a sighting of 2 coyotes last Friday near the Webb Park Golf Course. If you're on the Nextdoor app, you've seen many more sightings than just this one, but it is starting to grow with the level of attention being paid.
Number 4.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Here we go. You ready? All right. State Senator Mike Fazee from Houma has convinced lawmakers to pass his bill that aims to ban weather modifications in Louisiana. The bill seeks to prohibit acts such as cloud seeding, which includes dispersing silver iodine into clouds to make precipitation. Yes, that's real. That happened in the state capitol across the downtown from where we are right now. The bill has come to be associated with what some people call chemtrails. You know, when you look into the sky and the temperature and the humidity and the pressures are all just right, and there's a little contrail of condensation behind the plane. that no scientist has ever said is full of chemicals. Well, that's what they've passed, and it's now illegal to tamper with the weather.
Number 3.
Baton Rouge Zydeco announced yesterday the team is entering their third season with a new head coach. Sylvain, or is it Sylvain? Sylvain Cloutier joins the Zydeco after more than a 2 decades-long playing career in professional hockey. He was drafted back in '92. He actually made it up to the big time in the NHL with the Chicago Blackhawks during the 98-99 season.
Number 2.
Back to the state legislature, where there is a bill awaiting final approval right now that would raise the requirements for people who receive unemployment benefits in the state. It's House Bill 153 by Representative Troy Hebert. It would move the weekly amount of job-seeking actions by unemployed people from 3 all the way up to 5. Currently, unemployment benefits are only available for people who perform 3 work search actions per week. Those could be applying for a job, going to a job fair, or even landing an interview.
Number 1.
East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office assisting agencies cracked down on gangs with a drug bust on Monday. Deputies arrested 13 people who they say are affiliated with the street game The Vultures. Officials with the Gang Intelligence and Enforcement Unit, with the help of multiple other law enforcement agencies, conducted an extensive 2-month investigation into The Vultures. Officials said the alleged members are suspected of being responsible for numerous shootings in and around the Baton Rouge area. What's trending, John?
All right. Well, Governor Jeff Landry and the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness said Tuesday that they are ready for whatever this hurricane season has in store for the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, we are. We know how to hurricane around here. I take any questions on a national level of what FEMA's up to with a grain of salt, because it's all going to depend on what we do in our own backyard. I can tell you right now that the first disturbance in the force is now down to a 0% chance of formation. Okay. It's always so overhyped at the beginning of a hurricane season when you see a little yellow X out there and the clickbait media runs with it. Yeah. Well, we had for the last 2 days a disturbance with a 10% chance of forming into a storm. It was nowhere near us, off the coast of northeastern Florida. And it looked like it was going to head towards Georgia and the Carolinas if it became anything at all. Well, as of this morning, it's been downgraded to 0% chance.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I think the anxiety really starts when they come out with the names, right? When you start seeing names like
Andrea.
Nestor. Yeah. Olga.
Is Olga in the mix this year?
Olga's in there, man.
Dude,
look at that.
Yeah, you got to get way down. See, but we're not going to make it to Olga.
No.
Because,
I'm just saying,
look, you know why we're not going to make it to Olga?
Why?
Because look up 4 names above that.
Lorenzo?
No. One above that is Karen.
Yes.
You know, if we have a Hurricane Karen has already asked to speak with the manager. Hurricane Karen wants some kind of discount for the trouble that she's been through. Hurricane Karen is going to destroy us.
Governor Landry, you think you're prepared for me? Let me in.
This is unheard of. This level of incompetence. Why should I have I want to speak to your manager.
Yeah.
By the way, Karen probably the biggest. And you know what? I've never ever met a Karen who's actually a Karen.
No.
Right?
Never.
How did the term Karen come to be?
I don't know. It's terrible.
Karen's like every person I know who is named Karen is fabulous. Right. Like without fail, fabulous. By the way, the first one out the blocks will be Andrea.
Yeah.
The second one will be Barry, and you know that's a sore point with me. Then Chantal, Dexter. Yeah. Shout out to the Showtime series. Aaron, Fernand, Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, Nestor, Olga, Pablo, Rebecca with an H. Oh, I'm sorry, with a K. Sebastian, Tanya, Van, and Wendy. Those are your Van.
In other news, Super Bowl 59 brought in $1.25 billion in revenue for the entire state of Louisiana, a new study released on Tuesday by the LSU economists.
More on that coming up at 8:05 when Jay Cicero joins us from GNO Sports.
And speaking of New Orleans, the New Orleans Saints placed Derek Carr on the NFL's reserve and retired list Tuesday, finalizing his retirement after the quarterback announced last month he was stepping away from the sport because of a shoulder injury.
So there you go. Yep. Who Dat Nation? He can't hurt you anymore. Okay?
That's it.
We'll close the book on him and just move on. We're still digging ourselves out of a salary cap hole as a result of signing him. But this chapter is now closed. There is no reason to continue to relive it every day. Social media, let's please, please, please look forward to what's to come. Can you tell I'm over it with the Derek Carr
I
stuff?
can tell.
Can you tell I've gotten my fill on the Derek Carr shenanigans?
Yeah.
It's done now. 713 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We've got State Representative Dixon McMakin coming up after the break. Before we take that break, though, I want to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. You want to do super regionals, right? Swing by Mathern's. Special this week, prime ribeye steaks are $15.99 a pound. Oh, how about firing up the grill to tailgate for a little LSU baseball in the super regional with that? Because Mathern's on campus is the closest grocery store to Alec Box Stadium. Mathern's on campus is it's where the old Alec Box was. So, if you're getting ready for regional baseball, super regional baseball at the box, Mathern's has got you covered. Prime ribs are $15.99. Prime ribeye steaks are $15.99 a pound right now. Also, to go along with that, pork loin chops, they're continuing that at $1.99 a pound. If you want to get the sides to go along with it, russet potatoes are $1.99. By the way, ground beef, $3.99 a pound still. I know all this because I get the weekly ads sent to me with all the specials. It's part of the app. The specials, the coupons, everything they've got going on over at Mathern's. And, oh, by the way, you earn cash towards more groceries every time you shop. It's Mathern's. They're downtown on 3rd Street. They're off Highland Road near Kenilworth. And, of course, for the super regionals, you've got them on campus in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. I decided I decided a couple weeks ago, I really don't like, after I'm done with my coffee, just sitting here with coffee breath the rest of the morning. So, I brought in some mouthwash to wear once the coffee's gone. Kill the mics real quick. $716, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Okay, deep dive into the legislative session begins right now. State Representative Dixon McMakin is in the house. We got Josh Carlson coming up in the next segment. We got Paula Davis in the next hour. So we are going to cover a lot this morning. Dixon, how are you, brother?
Doing great, Brian. Good to be with you. Good morning, sir.
Always glad to have you on. While I have you here, did I hit you up about coming in week after next?
Monday, 16th, I believe.
Yes, that is
16th,
correct.
Yes,
Yep.
6 to 9. We'll be here. We'll have all the great guests that you can't get coming on the show, and we'll have a good time.
The governor brought turkeys into Moon Griffon's studio.
2
Yeah.
2 turkeys.
Yeah. Can you top that?
No, we're not going to top that.
Okay.
No, we're good.
All right. Me and the missus and the oldest will be in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
There you go.
So yeah. It's orientation time, my man.
Southern Miss?
Oh yeah,
There you go.
yeah. From St. Joseph's to Southern Miss,
What's their saying?
to the top.
To the top.
To the top.
George Napier, my law school classmate, went there. All right, George.
So yeah, we're super duper. I'm gonna be an emotional wreck. I'm gonna be a mess. I was not a mess at the graduation because it's high school graduation. Like that's
That's her leaving you. That's her leaving the nest.
right.
And that's what we're trying to avoid by some of the legislation we're doing now, Brian, is keeping people in the great state of Louisiana, keeping our young people here. They might go off to college. We want them to make sure they know they have a home back in Louisiana when they're done that education.
Absolutely. Well, that's the hope for sure.
Yeah, it's called a phenomenal transition.
It's a segue, as it were. All right. Let's start off with some of your bills. What are you still working on that looks like it's close to the finish line that you got high hopes for?
Yeah, today we got our resolution for Segan Lane for all those people in District 68. When you get off the interstate at Segan Lane, you turn left like you're heading to Marucci, heading to Target right there. There's only 2 turn lanes, but there's 3 lanes. So we're going to try to add an extra turn lane there. Of course, that's in line with my traffic initiatives from last year, shutting down the Washington Street exit, getting another turn lane at Essen at Perkins, and then also I-10 between Essen and College, an improvement there as well. So excited for those.
Procedurally, the difference between a resolution and a bill has the weight of law, but a resolution can still get things done.
Yes, absolutely. And a resolution really is kind of telling another state agency, hey, this has the backing of the legislature, so go make this happen, versus a law affects all citizens around the state. Resolution is talking to somebody else.
Which is what this would have to do. What else you got cooking?
Of course, Breck finally got passed last week. Really excited for that one, the Breck bill, HB 86, to redo that commission. I've already had so many people reach out to me. It's been absolutely fantastic. We're getting a new superintendent. We're having all the mayors with their designee on the commission. We're going to have 4 appointees as well. And I think everyone feels the opportunity now to really bring that park system of something you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
You've had an idea. Hey, bring it to this new group and let's get rolling.
So a lot of this got started when Mayor President Sid Edwards was looking at, the budgetary cuts that he's going to have. And the library came under fire, and a lot of people started asking, why not Breck? And this is where I didn't know that Breck had that much state control there.
Yeah, it's a state entity created by the state. Same with cats, right? So it's a weird thing. That's something a lot of us, we believe in. Why is the state doing this? I was actually talking to a senator yesterday who's not from our region. And Dixon, why am I wasting so much of my time talking about y'all's local stuff? I was like, well, it's a state statute. That's just how it works. So we're going to keep looking into that, but didn't have the buy-in to move it back under the city. But we thought this was the next best step and excited for what's happening.
Well, see, and I'm a huge fan of Breck. I'm a huge fan of Breck. They're gold medal winning park system. They are a gold medal winning park system. You can shake your head to that all you want. It's true.
I'm going to probably Monday go through the entire how they got that award.
Okay.
To put that to rest.
So they did get the award, though. My point here is that with something that has so much promise under its belt, I want control of it. I want it home. I want Breck to be here where we have oversight.
That's what we did. Yeah, putting the 5 mayors in charge of it now. When Breck was created, there was 1 city in the parish, there was 1 school board, and now we see 5 cities, maybe a potential another school board coming online. So the opportunity to take those, and really what I talked about the whole time was having that a direct accountability to somebody so you can talk to them, get it done. So excited for that one.
Now, conversely, you took a swing at cats as well, and has that gone anywhere?
No, we didn't pull it from the records, but we're not going to run it this year. Of course, we had an opportunity there to put cats under the city parish as well.
Yeah.
Talking to a lot of the people that would have had handle that one, said, look, not this year. Let's look into it. So I think in the off season, we're going to look into that, see what we can do as well. But there's another opportunity. You walk around. Of course, cats got sued, I believe, in the past year, has to update all their benches, do all that. If you've been in Baton Rouge, you've seen the empty buses. Why do we have so many of the large buses? Why are we not going more to that direct route, efficiency, effectiveness way of moving people around our parish?
State Representative Dixon McMakin is in with us talking about his work during this legislative session. And it's not always about just it's teamwork over there.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of teamwork going on. So who else's bills are you helping along the way?
Yes, I think you're going to have, hopefully with me next Monday, Rep. Emily Chenevert is doing a lot of work. Of course, you saw, if you've been keeping up with it, the insurance work. the governor has already had a signing, right? He's already done a lot of those signings. Really, this is a fiscal session, but when we look back on the 2025 regular session, it's going to be known as insurance reform session is what it's going to be known for. So didn't quite take up enough of, I would call, the fiscal matters that I wanted to. Rep. Julie Emerson has a lot of bills as well, as she leads our Ways and Means team. She's a third termer. She's been there a long time. Actually, I sat by her last night, and I goes, hey, what's some tips you got for me? I believe in osmosis. Close you can get to the people that really know what they're doing, been in that building. So I think there's some measures, and we'll see some constitutional amendments come up, I believe, next spring. We're not going to do that this fall. We're going to wait till next spring to try to get some of those measures that didn't pass the last time. We're going to separate them out, and then really bring them back to the people and try to have more of a runway there to educate people as well.
Well, okay, so in what way? Because I know a few of the pieces of CA2 have been reborn in this session.
Yep.
But the rest of them, you're saying we're going to wait until next spring?
No, I'm saying the pieces that we've already passed are the ones that are going to get out.
So they're not going to be on a ballot this fall?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Does that not continue to keep us painted in a corner when it comes to actually making budget cuts? Y'all are kind of limited in what you can do right now, because until we tighten up, we won't see more, relief on tax day.
Yeah, yesterday out of House and Governmental got House Bill 586 passed out. That's my constitutional convention bill. It's not going to happen. We're not going to get a convention. But what I'm trying to do is put the framework in place. I believe it's a 15 or 16-page bill that goes through everything that it would take if you wanted to do a constitutional convention the way that I have heard from the people they would like that done. Elected people. It's not just putting House members and Senate members as the committee. It's doing it over an entire year. And so I think as we go through this process, we'll get more say in that one as well. And I mentioned in my Daily Dixon last night that I think 2028 is the year I'm looking to actually run the convention now.
Okay.
Just with how everything lines up. So that'll give us some time to work on that.
Feels so far away.
Hey, well, the Constitution's 50 years old.
I know.
So when it's that old and you're looking at just maybe a couple more years to get you there, it's worth the wait.
No, I know. But at the same time, though, I think of all the paying my taxes every year up until then, but on top of that, just the fact that we're just so embedded in something that's so outdated.
Yeah.
And look,
50 years old.
Yeah, and a lot of those people have served time. I just I don't keep going back to the well saying, dance with who brung you. It's time for a new date for sure. Go back to the insurance side of this real quick, and you mentioned Representative Chenevert. Do you think we are actually going to see relief when it comes to our insurance premiums based off of the work that's been done?
We got to hopefully see something. Of course, that's the big question right now. And, the governor is working on that. The insurance commissioner is working on that. Philip DeVilliers, our speaker, Cameron Henry, the president, everyone's working on that. You see it. It's just tough because you take what other states are doing. No state is alike. That's something we definitely learned in this process. Well, Texas does this. Mississippi does this. Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. Populations are different. Coasts are different. Where people live is different. The type of home is different. So everything plays a role in that. But, to Moon's point that he hates, a step in the right direction. I won't say it's a step in the right direction, but I think we are turning the pendulum to see where people know that we are trying to head. We are letting businesses know this is where we are trying to go.
Yeah.
And I do think we should see some positive action. I'm not going to be like Insurance Commissioner Donnellan and what did he say, 25% it's going to go down. Don't put a number on any of this stuff. You just want to see something happen. If it doesn't, we're going to come back next session and we're going to tackle it again.
Well, I believe the governor's put a number of 10% within the next 2 years, which on car insurance, not necessarily homeowners. That's turning an oil tanker in the Gulf as opposed to turning a motorboat in the Lake Pontchartrain. It takes a lot more to get that done. Along with the bills that were passed, what got left to the wayside that is worth picking up again on the insurance front?
Man, great question. Not on the insurance committee, so let me try to think of all of our time in the session there. I think what you'll see on that side really is the business front of those is what are other businesses doing? Also, when it comes to our homes and the fortified roof program, making sure that when we have seen if water doesn't get into the house from top, how much of a benefit that can play. And then, of course, one of the differences between Mississippi, Alabama, and us is the size of our coast. That's something that we really always have to take into effect when we're doing things right now as well. So that's another one that we had a few bills that talked about that. that didn't quite make it across the finish line.
Yeah, the not just the size of our coast, but the fact that we have a river that feeds into the coast that changes the coast on a regular basis that plays into it as well. State Representative Dixon McMakin is with us for a couple more minutes. The last 9 days now.
Here we are, yeah.
The last 9 days. How is this going to play out? I mean, just from a 10,000-foot view, this is where you start triage and start moving things. Okay, forget about that. We got to concentrate on this.
If you watch the Winter Olympics, I don't know what the race is called, but it's one of those ice skating races where they go super slow for like 30 laps.
Yes.
If you've ever seen that one, then that final 4 laps, they just sprint to get to the finish line.
Right.
That's very similar to what it is. I'm in 3 different committees today. I have a bill on the House floor, and this is really that time to make sure that, you're talking to the senators. They're running your bills. If you can, they're talking to you. I mean, believe me, the first couple of weeks, senators don't come over to the House side and hang out with us. That's just not what happens.
Right.
They don't cross over Memorial Hall too much, but they're over there every day now because we got some of their bills. We're over there, and you got to make sure that if something's coming up for vote, you got to be where you need to be. So it's that final stretch run, the sprint that we're in right now to make sure that if you have something that needs to get done, you need to get it done.
If something is still in committee without, like, on the side where it started, a House bill still in a House committee, can we pretty much assume that they're not going anywhere at this point?
I hate to assume, Brian, but during specials, we prove that you can get a bill through in this amount of time. Will it? Let's give it a 99.99 chance of no.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, that's about on point. And as far as the rest of it is concerned, June 12th is the drop dead date for Sine Die.
Yep.
What's the likelihood that y'all get out early?
Probably not. So we put an amendment where the people voted for an amendment a couple of years ago that said there's a 48-hour rule in the budget now. So that was to where the budget comes out, people can digest the amendments that come over from the Senate side and do all that. So this will be the first session where that 48-hour rule is in place. So right now we're already calculating when the bill has to come over from the Senate and when we have to wait before we can take action on it on the House side. So that's why I don't think we'll get out early, because the Senate still has to vote on the budget. We still have to accept it on our side and then wait 48 hours before we can take action on it. So, yeah, I don't see us getting out by early before June 12th. How about that? Maybe we'll get out June 12th at 5:30. But, yeah. And June 12th, I just saw your sign behind us. What was Haspel a second ago, National Seersucker Day is going to be the final day of session. And so we're excited to put our seersuckers on for the final day.
It is National Seersucker Day, and finally they have it right on the national level. We've had so many years in the past where National Seersucker Day and the day they celebrated up in Washington, D.C. have been on separate days. Everybody finally got on the same page this year.
Already been talking to some senators in Congress, maybe Madam Congress Lady's team as well. I've made it known that, hey, Louisiana is where it's from, so we want to be a part of that as well, because one year I know it wasn't even during session, and we couldn't even celebrate it down here. So let's make sure we can all try to do it together.
Up there, up in D.C., and, of course, across downtown at our state capitol. He is Dixon McMakin. We always appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
See you back on Monday.
Yep. Here comes news. Oh, yeah, June 12th. I'm not even going to be in town on June 12th. Department of Education brings me down to the Teachers Leadership Summit in New Orleans. This will be the last day of the session. I'm not going to be talking about the session. I know.
At that point,
Yeah,
budget bill.
the horses are in the barn at that point. So
That's funny. When you see the list that day, it's all the House bills are in the Senate, and you're just back like,
well, hey, kill the mics real quick. Later. It's time to get a look at your forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Tim McKay Cowan. .737 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Let's keep it with state legislature, and thanks again to Dixon McMakin for stopping by. He and Emily Schoonerver will be filling in not this coming Monday, but the following Monday to be sure. We go right back to the House, this time for Representative Josh Carlson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. We got a lot to cover this morning. I'm told, and I couldn't access the video. Try as hard as I did, couldn't access the video. But you spoke in front of a committee yesterday, and you had some what I'm told was some pretty phenomenal things to say. Can we start our conversation with yesterday's committee hearings?
Absolutely. So it was civil law, and we had a bill before us to address what's been called a collateral source, and we've been talking about this for years now in the legislature and arguing over it and everything like that. And it's been celebrated as an end to the collateral source debate, right? How much from medical insurance or other sources of payment can you consider when you're looking at medical bills
right.
in a personal injury lawsuit?
So the part that I've always had trouble getting past here, and yes, when we talk collateral source, we are talking medical transparency. The part that I can't seem to get past is, why is there an argument beyond this is what was actually paid? Like, to me, that's the receipt that needs to be turned in that you get reimbursed for, not what was billed or charged.
I completely agree with you. In a suit and with insurance, you're talking about making somebody whole for their damages, right?
Right.
And so if I was injured and I have to spend $3,000 in medical bills, I should have my $3,000 medical bill covered. The case has always been argued that, well, you paid for that insurance for years, and so you should get compensated for some of that cost. I mean, I think that's, I would have had that insurance anyway, right? I have insurance today because I want to prevent a catastrophic medical event from happening. I'm not looking for recovering part of my past premium, but that's the argument that's been made. The point that I made in committee, though, was we are talking about the wrong thing. The collateral source argument was an argument from 10 years ago, because now in personal injury law, the overwhelming majority of medical bills, probably close to 90%, are all cash pay. There is no collateral or secondary source of payment. And so the bill that we were discussing answers the collateral source question, but it completely leaves out of the discussion, how do we handle cash payments if there is no other collateral source? And that bill says that you can't even consider those bills. Are they reasonable or not? And so I came to committee and I had real examples, not from the insurance company, not hypothetical or theory. These are medical bills from cases where clients were charged $50,000 for a CT scan and $40,000 for an MRI, and 10 and 20 and 50 times what the cash payment normally would be if you or I walked in off the street. And I think that is what has to be addressed.
Not just that, but the frequency of it as well. We'll get to that part in a minute. But yeah, if you're charged $40,000 for an MRI, there's no way you're paying $40,000 for an MRI.
That's exactly right. But right now in the bill, and the kind of conversation that has to continue happening is, we have to be able to address that. Not saying that you can't charge that, but we should be able to put at least, at minimum, put an expert on that says, look, the going rate for that MRI is $4,000, not $44,000.
Right.
And at least let a jury decide what they think is reasonable or not. And so, look, I'm glad that we're answering the collateral source question once and for all, but we're not playing a collateral source game anymore. The end zone has moved. The goalposts have moved. We have to have this new conversation, and that is what's driving up costs, especially for our commercial vehicles, and we're all bearing the brunt of those higher costs of insurance for them because that gets passed along to all consumers.
Okay, you opened the door right there for me to ask the follow-up. When you say commercial vehicles, how big of an impact does this have on business, specifically businesses that would have fleets of vehicles?
This is the issue for them, right? So in Louisiana, with a minimum policy limit of $15,000, we're not talking about astronomical medical expenses because nobody treats beyond those limits. They know they're not going to recover. But every person who owns a commercial vehicle, from an 18-wheeler, a logging truck, or any other commercial vehicle, this affects you because you have a minimum of $1 million policy up to a $5 million policy. And so you can rack up astronomical medical expenses. But the thing is, it's not just directly affecting all of our businesses. Like I said, all of those costs are passed on to us. So when you go to the grocery store and buy milk, you're paying a higher price because it costs more to get the milk to the grocery store because of that insurance cost. And that insurance cost is being driven primarily by inflated medical costs.
We're talking with State Representative Josh Carlson. He's based out of Lafayette, Louisiana. The likelihood that we see movement on this bill, the one you were testifying about yesterday, the governor's already had a bill signing when it came to insurance, and we did have a stack of bills already. That doesn't mean the game's over with here. So walk us through your level of confidence that we are going to see more change.
I'm confident that we're going to see the collateral source bill signed, more than likely as is. And I think this question of how do we handle, can you at least question cash payment bills? I think that is going to be a question for another day, unfortunately, because that's a question that needs to be answered now. It's affecting and really, in some cases, crippling our businesses now. But I think that I don't think there's going to be any movement to address that this year. I think that's a fight for next year and coming years, that now our focus can shift from all of these other areas. It's been the shotgun approach because we've been so out of alignment with other states.
Yeah.
We fixed a lot of things this year, but I think now we can singularly focus on this one issue of how do we handle cash payment. It'll probably be the single issue that we focus on when we're talking about insurance rates and tort reform.
State Representative Josh Carlson is with us. Josh, the governor did say any bill that gets to his desk, he's signing this time around. And when it came to medical transparency, he didn't. He actually said that on this program last Thursday. He said he didn't like last year's bill, but this year's bill he's a lot more confident in. I want to take that and say it's great to see bills pass, but you and I both know what we need to take a bite out of is the tort tax, what we're actually paying in insurance premiums as a result of all these things. Are you confident that the work that has already been done and the work that is still being done, even if there's still more stuff to tend to next year, what y'all have done during this session will have an impact on our pockets?
Absolutely. And everything that I've said previously, I don't want to imply that it wasn't enough or we haven't done a good job. The bills that were passed, some of them I wasn't even sure that we were going to get passed this year, like the modified comparative fault. But these are things that the legislature has fought for 10 years to try to pass. And so it is a huge step forward. I'm saying, and I think for the personal auto, it will have a really big impact. I'm saying for that commercial auto rate, right, for that trucker that is parking half of his fleet because he can't afford the insurance anymore, the person who can quote their same trucks, drivers, vehicles in another state and get insurance at half the cost, I think we still have work to do, and it has to revolve around the inflated medical costs. And really, it's not the medical charges, right? I had a conversation with the hospital, and they were concerned about how this, if we went down this road, how it would affect them. I said, look, I'm not concerned about if a medical procedure is $750 and the quote-unquote market rate was $500. I'm concerned when the going rate is $5,000 and we're being charged $100,000,
Right.
which is what's happening in some cases.
With medical transparency, how do you get from legislature to our insurance premiums? Like the timeline on this, if you could project that.
So as far as the bill that's being passed right now, it'll
When
come to,
combined with the other bills, like because I know I don't want there to be this false expectation that this like come June 13th, right after
Right.
El Sine die, everybody's going to get a bill for less next month. That's not how this works.
No, it's not, and I think that's a great point in setting expectations. So other states, when they've done comprehensive tort reform, it's taken a year or more before they've seen rates come down because insurance companies, one, are seeing the effect on the market, and they're pricing out their risks sometimes 12, 18 months ahead of time. So, no, we might not see or probably will not see rates decrease tomorrow, but we have set the groundwork for next year when your premium comes due that you should start to see those rates coming down. Every bill that's been passed has put some downward pressure on those rates, and I think the market's going to wait and see, okay, what kind of impact does this have? Are we seeing less frivolous lawsuits? Are there more likelihood that we're going to win in court? And so you will see that downward pressure, but it will take a little bit of time. Same thing with the homeowners insurance in the state. We passed a sweeping reform last year, about 19 bills. Some of those bills just went into effect 2-3 months ago, and so we're still haven't yet seen the full impact of what we passed, and it'll be the same thing with this. But I'm confident that we will start to see those rates come down.
Like changing the car insurance versus changing homeowners insurance. And in fact, I had Dixon McMakin on last segment. I would liken that to the difference between turning a bass boat versus turning an oil tanker. Homeowners are just going to take a longer amount of time. When it comes to car insurance, because there's so many other environmental factors that are at play here that feed into a greater equation. When it comes to the car insurance, what we've looked at here, and again, this goes back to the governor's press conference right before the session started, the outlier here is the medical cost. That's the biggest part of this. Now, with that in mind, well, everywhere else, we're in line with the rest of the national averages. Whether you talk about uninsured motorists or underinsured motorists, we're like 14th or 15th in the nation. Whether you're talking about, I know they want to blame the state of the roads and whatnot. All those things are out there, but we're not an outlier there the way we are with the medical billing.
No, you're absolutely right. And here's the statistic that really got me when we were doing all of this research. We're just above the national average in the frequency of car accidents, right? We get in roughly the same as the national average, a little bit more, but the severity of accidents, right in line with the national average.
Mm-hmm.
The bodily injury claims, we were 2 to 2.5 times higher than the national average. We had more bodily injury claims. Again, those claims leading to those inflated medicals.
Yeah.
We had 66,000 in the same time period that the state of New York, with a population of 20 million, only had 60,000.
I
That's
want that
the
last
single
sentence
factor.
repeated ad nauseum. I want that last sentence repeated until the cows come home. That cannot be shouted loud enough.
No, that's it. We have 4.5 million people, and we had 66,000 bodily injury claims. New York has 20 million people and had 60,000 bodily injury claims. We are suing for medical damages at a rate higher than anywhere else in the nation, which is why we have the highest insurance in the nation, period.
Last one before I get you out of here, and this steps away from the work that y'all can get done at the Capitol, because you could change laws, but changing hearts and minds is a different story. Can the laws being written or the laws being changed affect that jackpot justice mentality that, ooh, that's my payday to get in a wreck?
That's a great question, because we do have a culture where people get in a minor fender bender,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like they've purchased a winning lottery ticket.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different culture than other states. And I've told people, I said, passing these laws are not the end-all, be-all.
No.
What we really need is a thriving economy where when you get in an accident, you're not looking to sue and stay out of work for the next 3 years. You go to the chiropractor once or twice, it's a couple $100, and you're back at work the next week because you've got a great job, you're providing for your family, and you're not looking for some other method of like you said, jackpot justice. At the end of the day, we have to have a thriving economy in Louisiana, But until then, we have to use these laws to curb that culture. And people need to know that getting in a minor accident is not their ticket to not have to work the rest of their life. And that's kind of what the pervasive culture has been. Look, if you were in an accident and you were legitimately injured and hurt, there's not one person, myself included, that doesn't want you to recover any damages that you're owed. But that is a small fraction of the cases out there. And unfortunately, we have to do everything we can in the legislature to prevent that type of culture from continuing on.
Let's get you back on right after this session for a full recap. He's State Representative Josh Carlson. Thank you so much for a couple of great minutes this morning.
Oh, thank you.
We're at 7:51, Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break, come back, talk with Miss Louisiana next. If you've been doing TV this morning, then you're already used to that. As radio, we tend to take a little bit, take our time. But we'll get you out of here by 8. So what I have on you is that I got the tiny little bio here, but it doesn't even say where you're from. You live in Monroe? Yes. Okay. From Monroe originally?
From Ruston, Lincoln Parish, but
Okay.
live in Monroe this year.
Okay.
As Miss Louisiana.
Gotcha. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna talk about your community service initiative, a little bit, and then we have to save 60 seconds on the back end to talk about the next competition, which is June 21st, I think. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hey, Bo. We found the problem. Alondra took a cable out of here and brought it to the St. George Council meeting. Yeah. Yeah, we were being rummaged for parts. I know. Yeah. So St. George wasn't supposed to have a meeting yesterday. It was a makeup meeting from the week before. That's why everything was rushed and at the last second. So Alondra reverted to, hey, I know this cord is there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're always on Facebook Live as well. So. No. It's the headset so that I can hear all the other stuff as well. So you don't need it because you're just talking to me. So. No, we'd have to hook you up with something like what John's got. He's got the little earpieces. I like the big old school cumbersome. Actually, the truth of the matter is I paid a lot for these headphones, so damn it, I'm going to use them. Okay. Seven 7:55 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got 5 minutes until news at the top of the hour, and I want to utilize all 5 minutes as best we can. Olivia Grace George is Miss Louisiana 2024. She is Miss Louisiana for about, 3 more weeks before handing off?
A little less than 2 weeks.
A little less than 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay, I thought the crowning was going to be on the 21st.
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
so maybe
we're between 2 and 3.
Yes,
okay.
Somewhere right in there.
Got it narrowed down there. Welcome in. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about the upcoming competition. Before we get to the competition, though, you are wrapping up a whirlwind year. We have Miss Louisiana on every year about this time as the next competition is coming up. They don't let y'all rest.
Oh, no, but you only get 1 year as Miss Louisiana, so you want to fill it with as many exciting opportunities as possible. So
Let's talk about a few of those opportunities real quick.
Yeah.
By the way, your background, you're from Ruston, went to Louisiana Tech.
Yes, I'm still at Louisiana Tech. I'll be going into my senior year this fall.
Okay, fantastic. What are you studying?
Elementary education.
Okay. Well, that ties right in with some of the work that you've been doing over the past year. Elementary education, I assume you want to stay in Louisiana to teach?
Yes. Right now I'm looking at staying in Lincoln Parish to teach.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Good stuff. The work you've been doing over the year, there's a lot of appearances you got to make and the ribbon cuttings and all this stuff, but you've really dug in on a couple of initiatives that you take to heart.
Yes. So my community service initiative is education is key. So as a future educator, something that's very important to me is installing a love of learning in students and teaching to them the importance of their education and how through our education we can do anything.
The education is key, by the way, proving to be an acronym here.
Yeah.
Knowledge empowers youth.
Absolutely.
What made you want to focus on specifically that?
Well, I truly do believe, as a lifetime learner, but also as a future educator, that we can do anything through our education, and through our education, we are empowered to do more. And I truly believe that knowledge is powerful.
And you're coming on at a time where education in Louisiana is starting to move the needle a little bit. We're starting to move up the ranks. So this is the right time to hop in.
Yes, absolutely. We've moved up in the educational rank quite far, and I'm very excited to see that continue to go up.
Grab that baton and keep running with it. We've got Olivia Grace George, the current Miss Louisiana, in with us. Okay, so give us the synopsis here. What's it like being Miss Louisiana? What's the year? How does it map out? And just walk us through the last 12 months.
Well, like you said, there is a lot that goes into those 12 months. Of course, one of the exciting parts about being Miss Louisiana is getting to compete in the Miss America competition. So a big part of the year is dedicated to preparing and getting ready to put our best foot forward to represent the state at Miss America. But there's a lot of exciting events that happen throughout the year. I get to meet a lot of incredible people, so many wonderful once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and I'm very grateful for everything that I got to be a part of this year as Miss Louisiana.
Just a couple minutes left here with Olivia Grace George. Now, the next Miss Louisiana is going to be coming up, you said 19th through 21st of this month. Walk us through what that competition is like, because, I mean, having, been down the road and you know what a haul it is. So walk us through what that week or what those couple days are going to look like.
Yes, so our contestants will check in the Sunday prior. So June 15th, we'll check in. We'll start rehearsals, getting prepared. Interviews will happen during that week. And then June 19th through the 21st, that's our preliminaries and our finals. And on the 21st, we will crown our new Miss Louisiana.
And that Miss Louisiana will take over for the next year. When you got crowned, let's rewind the clock. Do you still feel the emotion that you felt then? Do you still feel that moment? Can you relive that moment in your mind?
Absolutely. I just got chills you just talking about it. But every time I watch the video, really, I feel all the emotions come back, and I want to cry. It brings me so much happiness, so many tears of joy.
How worn out are you at the end of the process?
Oh, not at all. I love every moment of my job.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh, I do. I love my job. Best job ever.
No, you could love your job. You can still be tired.
Oh, no.
See, John, youth right there. Like, you get one look at her schedule. I'm tired from her schedule. How is she not tired from her schedule?
I run off of a lot of coffee.
That's okay.
Yeah,
there you go. That's a lot more fair right there. Walk us through after you hand off your crown to the next round. What do you go on to from there? Because there is sort of that emeritus aspect of this. There is still that leadership aspect.
Yes, so I'll go back to Louisiana Tech to finish out my undergraduate degree. I'm also proud to say that I'll be starting my master's degree this fall, and I'll be student teaching 5th grade math and science at a local school in Ruston.
Very cool stuff. We are short of time, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate you stopping in for a couple minutes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always. She is Olivia Grace George, the current Miss Louisiana. You'll hear from the new Miss Louisiana after she is crowned on June 21st. It is 8 o'clock. Here comes news. That was way too freaking fast. I had so much I didn't want to touch on because it was going to open up so much other stuff. But...
No, that was great. I feel like we covered a lot.
Oh.
I thought it was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can we get a picture?
Absolutely. Can you get my logo up, John?
Where did I camera?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Oh, grab a pic.
I'm going to have you stand right there and don't zoom.
And if you don't mind, whatever social you're posting it on, tag me in it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.
It was so great to talk to you.
Likewise. Good luck.
You too.
Stay up. Stay up. Good. 10 minutes busy. Oh. That's four fuckers. 8 innings, only gave up 3 hits, 1 run, and the fucking Pirates couldn't score 1 fucking run, so he gets shut out. 3-0. Yeah, I know. Brutal.
I feel bad for you for having to put up with that.
Grab the.
He's got that going for him.
Yes, sir, you are.
My clock.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, the computer? That was just a matter of turning on and signing into that computer and running a cable.
Let's see, looks like till about 15.
Well, and so 2 days next week I'll be, well, in New Orleans for.
Yeah.
And now it turns out that on the 12th I'm not coming back home.
Okay.
So.
Well, it still remains to be seen if I'm coming.
Yeah, I guess we won't know that until Sunday or Monday. All right.
Let's hope not Monday.
So, shit. Yeah, I signed up for another contest. The radio, I got free registration because they sent out an email saying we encourage local media to attend. I'm like, I would love to come, but my boss ain't paying for this last minute. And here's the code. You're in. So I get to go to the reception on the evening of the 11th, and then all the breakout sessions on the 12th. So I'm not coming home till like 7 o'clock on 7 p.m. on the 12th. We'll learn like implementing AI in your newsroom and all that other shit. So, yeah, I won't be back yet. Okay, thank you. Oh. To what? Ask Landon. It's, I mean, everybody's gonna text me, so. Yeah. Because it's gonna be Emily and Dixon on Monday, and then Betsy Barnes on Tuesday. Betsy does a good job of filling out the guest list with like phoners, so. Yeah, over the years I've like I don't want to say I've narrowed down who I want to host, but I've actually broadened it out. When I go on vacation in July, you're gonna hear some different names. I'm gonna get DSR in for one, but Davis Harriman. Probably hit. $1.25 billion impact. That's what Super Bowl 59 brought to New Orleans. And that's what we're talking about. 8:05 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. We'll go back into the legislative session with Paula Davis in our next segment. We will head up to Congress for D.C. Current. Congresswoman Julia Letlow joining us before we get out of here. But we're going to start with Jay Cicero, who's on the hotline right now. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling great. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing very well as well. So, we're just up here in Baton Rouge, and, I took a deeper dive into the Super Bowl than I think, a lot of folks that were outside of New Orleans did. And I think yesterday we learned why. $1.25 billion impact for the state. Break it down for us. Break down the numbers.
Well, we knew it was large, right? Yeah. We knew it was going to be big. We didn't know how big until really yesterday when the impact study was unveiled. Mm-hmm. But $1.25 billion, as you said, in statewide total economic impact. That's over double what it was 12 years ago. In 2013, it was $480 million. In 2013, I thought that was a big number, and I thought maybe if we double it this time, because I knew it had grown, we double it this time, then we'd have a great shot at having a big number. But to go to 1.25 billion, almost tripling it, pretty amazing. 658 million in total spending by visitors and vendors in the state of Louisiana. 115,000 attendees overall from out of town, or 100,000 from out of state. It was just huge. 395 million generated for Louisiana workers and wages. About almost 9,800 local jobs created in the state, and a big one for us, almost 83 million, 82.7 million in state and local tax revenue generated. So that shows a huge return on investment for everything and all the efforts that us, New Orleans Saints, in the leadership of the host committee, along with the state of Louisiana, City of New Orleans, and all of our partners.
We got Jay Cicero on with us talking about the impact of the Super Bowl, $1.25 billion in total statewide economic impact, and you mentioned the state and local tax revenue, $82.7 million as a return on investment. Jay, what was the investment? Because it's important to remember that this took some work to get done.
I don't like to give out the total numbers. I know that the state, it's a public figure. The state provided $10 million from the Major Event Incentive Fund for in support of the host committee. We raised a lot more in private corporation funding support there, and then we had some hospitality community support on top of that. The reason I don't like to give out the numbers is because I don't want our competition to know what we did it for, and because I'd love to know what our competition did it for out there. So when they host these events, but it's certainly a huge effort, certainly a large fundraising effort that goes along with this, but the economic return is certainly worth it.
Absolutely, it is. Jay, is it okay? $1.25 billion is a huge number, but are we done? Is there a way to quantify the residuals that come after this? The people that were maybe booking their summer vacations at the time, and we just haven't seen that return yet. Is there still more to come?
I think there's more to come. I don't know if you can actually quantify the amount of new visitors that would come over this summer because we host the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Certainly, any growth there could be attributed somewhat to that media exposure. But we did hear yesterday from Secretary Susan Bourgeois from Louisiana Economic Development that the economic development pavilion that they created here in order to solicit businesses coming to Louisiana and doing business in Louisiana was extremely successful, including some very big deals that were closed at that pavilion over Super Bowl. So it reaches out just beyond the financial figures and economic impact, but the ability for everyone to pull together, to have the spirit that you felt in hosting our Super Bowl, our record-tying 11th Super Bowl in February, and the pride that we all have in these events and that it gives us. That's something that's underrated as far as the power of being able to push through issues and problems and say, we all worked on Super Bowl and we all had a successful event. We're very proud of what happened.
The Louisiana Now Pavilion that you mentioned right there. So I was able to drive down and take advantage of the week leading up to the Super Bowl on a couple of days out of the week, to be sure. That Louisiana Now Pavilion, Jay, I can't tell you the number of reporters or different media types who visited that thing and said, I've never seen anything like this at a Super Bowl before. I can't help but think it's going to be at every Super Bowl for moving forward. This is one where Louisiana broke ground.
It really did, and kudos to the governor and Secretary Bourgeois for wanting to take advantage of the opportunity that only a Super Bowl can bring. And I agree with you 100%. I think the other cities saw this, and they are probably seeing some of the successes that LED is having right now as a result of the Super Bowl being here, and they can't afford to go low, if you know what I mean, to go small.
Right.
They're going to have to go all out as we did, and yes, I think they set the table and set the bar pretty high for other cities.
What was the most surprising to you in reading the report? By the way, the report coming out from Deck Terrell and Nicholas J. Henderson over at LSU, and they've been on the show before. They know their stuff, to be sure. What was the biggest takeaway or the most surprising takeaway for you from this report?
I think the hitting the word billion, for one thing. Again, I was expecting it to be big. I was hoping it would be double of what it was last time, which would put it at $900 million. But to hit $1.25 billion was just astounding. And then seeing the taxes generated, the number of taxes, the amount of taxes generated was really pleasing to us. So, I think those two stuck out the most for me. And that, again, it kind of confirms why we do what we do, why the Sports Foundation takes the lead on these events, and how, we just need to continue doing what we do in order to bring more business and more exposure to Louisiana.
Does the overall economic impact numbers, do those numbers kick back to the NFL and make a difference in future bids? When the NFL is able to look back and say, man, look what we helped do in New Orleans, does that help future bids?
I think it does. I think they felt the impact as much as we did, for sure. Can it work against you? Hey, we brought you 1.25 billion versus what it was 12 years
think
ago.
about that.
So it could, but my guess is, knowing our partnership and our friends with the NFL, they'll be very happy, or they were very happy yesterday when they saw these numbers also.
Got just a couple minutes left with Jay Cicero from Geno Sports Foundation talking about the Super Bowl $1.25 billion economic impact. The next question is going to be, when are we next? When are we coming up again? You got Levi Stadium, SoFi Stadium, Atlanta is all in the mix over the next 3 years. What are we looking at for a future Super Bowl bid from New Orleans?
Well, we're not really focusing in on a year just yet. We have had some preliminary conversations with the NFL about our desire to bring the Super Bowl back, and certainly Mrs. Benson has talked to the commissioner about that also. But I think they know we want them back. It's just the process hasn't started yet for the future years, and when it does, hopefully we'll be in the mix. And that, it'll take a while to get there, but I'm quite sure that hopefully we'll be seen in a favorable light moving forward for another bid for the future Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, if it's too far down the road, you get to keep the title of Mr. Super Bowl.
I have to be given the title first to be able to keep it, but that is something I hope that I'm able to do to in my career, to host another one. That would be great. This one took it out of me. I have to tell you, it was physically and mentally draining, having all that responsibility of leading the Super Bowl here for the state of Louisiana and New Orleans, but such rewards, such as the economic impact, and again, just the partnerships with the Saints and the people that we've had that we came into to work with, really made it special. And Sports Foundation staff did an incredible job. Our board did an incredible job. Kudos to everyone. Everyone played a big role, and kudos to everyone for stepping up their games to make this economic impact so large.
So do you go from being Mr. Super Bowl to Mr. UFC? Is that what's next for the Greater New Orleans?
I am Mr. UFC next month.
Yeah.
And then I'm Mr. USA Gymnastics in August. And then back to annual Mr. New Orleans Bowl in December, and then hopefully many events to come after that.
Okay, so this last one before I get you out of here, and I greatly appreciate your time. How do you keep everything from feeling small after this? I mean, you're not going to have another until there's another Super Bowl. There's not going to be another $1.25 billion impact here. But Dustin Poirier's retirement tour is a big thing. The USA Gymnastics is a big thing. But how do you keep this to where everything gets that level of attention and love that this got, so that the next thing will be a success as well?
That's a great question, and we really focus on service. And yes, coming off of a Super Bowl and coming off of the biggest event in the history of our 37 years now of being of doing what we do, is sometimes difficult to focus on smaller events. But when you have a mentality of service, not only to our community, but to the state of Louisiana, to our hospitality community, and to our organization, and the pride that you take in yourselves. It's not. I'm not saying anybody could do it for a Super Bowl. Anybody can get motivated for a Super Bowl. You get motivated to do it for smaller events is something that we also take a lot of pride in. But it really comes down to service, providing a service and creating relationships that will last a long time.
He is Jay Cicero from the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. We greatly appreciate a couple minutes this morning. And look, here's some more things in the future that can pull some more numbers in.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you having me on.
Always. We're running super long. State Representative Paula Davis joins us next. There's Paula. $820 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. As promised, we are right back into the legislative session. Joining us now on the hotline, State Representative Paula Davis. How are you this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I apologize for pushing back here and running a little bit long. We had Jay Cicero on from the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation talk about the $1.25 billion from economic impact of the Super Bowl.
Okay, great.
So,
well, it's funny because I just when I phoned in, I said this would be the one time that I call you and I cannot get through. And my husband would probably laugh at me. I know he's listening, thinking, "Oh, Paula, how do you not know how to get through to Brian?"
You have the direct line though. I mean, you got the hotline number, but you can hit me up via text as well. So
Yeah,
you're always
I was
getting
in a panic mode, Brian.
No reason for a panic mode. That being said, there's only 9 days left in the session. Are we hitting panic mode yet there?
No, we're not hitting panic mode there yet. We have 9 days left. It's a marathon, not a sprint. A lot happens in the last week, 2 weeks of session, as history has shown us. So it'll be interesting to see what makes it out of committees for the rest of this week. And I think we are going in on Sunday. I know the Senate is going in on Sunday, I believe, to pass HB 1 and HB 2 and 3. Those are the budgets and capital outlay. I think that we're going to be in session as well to receive those. So, because, I think you've heard probably earlier, or other reps have said it, we have a 48-hour rule. So,
Yep.
Which is nice. We get to see the budget. We get to review things for 48 hours before actually voting on it, which seems very logical. I don't know why we didn't do this in the past.
Yeah. Good.
So it looks like we'll be very busy handling the budget, handling capital outlay, but those seem to be smooth sailing so far. Jack McFarland and Julie Emerson have done great jobs in shepherding those bills through, as have our senators on the other side. And, we still have some insurance reform left in the hopper. So we'll see what happens there. I believe that maybe yesterday, or maybe it was last week, insurance committee passed out a Mike Reese bill regarding medical transparency. I know that was watered down a lot, but so I know that that's still making its way through the session. So the House passed, I think it was 16 tort reform bills, insurance reform bills, and so far about 3 have been signed, I think.
Was it 3? I feel like it was more than that. The governor was bragging on it last Thursday. So
yeah, it was either 3 or 5. It may be 5. It may be 5. I'm not thinking about the dash cams and illegal aliens. I think those are the other 2 besides the larger package that we were pushing.
You mentioned about how Senator Reese's bill is a bit watered down. When something like that rolls through but doesn't come out with the same level of punch, is how important is it to keep the foot on the gas and follow through to refine it next year, or do you go back to the drawing board to start over with it next year? Like I know your favorite Moon Griffon coming up after this show hates the step in the right direction, but it is a step in the right direction, and putting that second foot forward is important too.
Yeah, it absolutely, and I think it's imperative that and absolutely necessary that we continue to put our foot on the gas and not let up. Like I said, we did pass out about 16 or so bills out of the House, and 5 have been signed. But one thing that we need to discuss, although these are great steps forward and great moves forward. You guys know, because I've talked about it before, I was at the insurance department for almost 10 years. I was over property and casualty insurance and over the rating commission at that time. And unfortunately, in my opinion, while we have made some strides with the bills that have been passed, that have been signed, none of these bills, though, are designed to reduce the number of claims. And that is the big issue here, is the number of claims. That's where all of our problems begin. And I think Josh Carlson may have talked about it, or maybe you talked about it, the jackpot justice. We have got to change the mindset of the citizens of Louisiana, because now we have that mindset that it's a billboard. It's along with the lottery. The lottery says you're going to win $200 million this year. Well, you can win $200 million if you're in a car wreck.
Right.
So we've got to change that mindset, but also, and we have to also manage expectations. And I'm going to hit you guys with a little dose of reality. When I say manage expectations, I go back to when I was over the Department of Insurance. We had the Rating Commission. What I saw firsthand what the Rating Commission did in arbitrarily reducing rates and not letting rates be set at an actuarially justified level was devastating. Absolutely devastating to this state. And unfortunately, I'm hoping that House Bill 148, which I know that you've also talked about, does not undo or have a negative impact on the bills that we have already passed and gotten signed. That's my big fear. When any company looks to come to Louisiana or to come to a different state, what do they want? They want stability and they want certainty. And in my opinion, and I voted against 148, that undoes or can undo a lot of the good things that were passed. We need companies here. If we don't have insurance companies to insure our citizens, then what good does any of this do?
Right. And not just on the car insurance front, not just on the vehicle, but on the home as well.
100%, absolutely.
Because 148, the actuarial numbers that go into vehicle insurance, I don't think Tim Temple can really stray from that very much. I have a bigger question about the homeowners insurance, and we need more players in that game, to be sure.
Absolutely. And that was the crisis we felt in the early 2000s, late 19, I was going to say the late 1900s, in the 1990s. That's exactly what we saw with the rating commission. They were arbitrarily holding down rates.
Right.
And so we were losing companies. When I was deputy commissioner of insurance, the commissioner and I, along with some of the agent groups, went around the country to try to get homeowners companies back. And that was the number one issue, was just the arbitrary rulings from the rating commission that were suppressing rates. We had a workers' comp crisis.
Yeah.
And, Tim's dad was very instrumental, along with Governor Foster, in correcting that situation and forming LWCC. So my fear is that history is going to repeat itself because of this HB 148. And I hope that that's not the case. I want to see rates go down just as much as every other citizen in this state. But I'm being cautious because of 148.
I have a little more optimism on that front because, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think that's a hill that Tim Temple would die on. I think you say the numbers are the numbers, and we're going to stick to the dadgum numbers.
And you have to. Now, the bill says may, not shall. But I think that you have to look at actuarial justification.
100%.
In these cases. So, and I think that he's going to stick to that. I don't think that he's going to do something that would arbitrarily reduce rates. I think that he is going to be very smart about it. It may not be the outcome that we all want in getting insurance rates to be as low as we all want. But I think that, he will absolutely stick to doing what's right and stick to those actuarial justifications.
Well, I don't want to turn the rest of the segment into the Tim Temple fan club, but we finally have a guy who has the passion, the knowledge, and the communication skills to be, really, really in favor of what he wants, really, really knowledgeable in what we need, and the ability to spell it back to where, I can understand it, for crying out loud. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a complicated issue.
Yeah.
And there's so many nuances. And again, with everything, the devil's in the details of all of these bills.
We got a couple minutes left with State Representative Paula Davis. Let's talk about your bills. You're getting some stuff done this session as well.
Yeah. So we, as you know, I've been on my an IVF journey to make sure that couples in Louisiana, parents in Louisiana, are able to have biological children through IVF. As we know that Alabama Supreme Court last year made a pretty devastating ruling on IVF in Alabama, and their legislature quickly fixed that. So what we did here is strengthen our law in protecting the rights of parents to go through the IVF process in Louisiana and have doctors be able to perform those procedures without fear of criminal liability. So that was passed. That is on the governor's desk. Thomas Presley and I are very proud of that bill. And I know that I've been receiving messages. So that's probably the one bill that I received the most messages on in my 10 years, honestly, is the IVF bill and protecting IVF in Louisiana. So I'm very proud that is now on the governor's desk, and we look forward to him signing that bill soon.
Two more I want to touch on. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Murphy J. Foster Promise Program.
Yeah, that was my next one. So that bill is headed to Senate Finance. That will meet. It has to meet next week. I don't know if they're meeting Sunday or Monday. They put a fiscal note on the bill, although there really is no fiscal note because we're not increasing the cap of the Murphy J. Foster program. We're just adding to the population that can apply to it. And so hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll get some stats on this new group of folks that are able to apply to the system, to the Murphy J. Foster program, and see if we can then increase those who can participate. Last year, we reduced the age limit for that. It used to be, I think it was 22. So this year it went to 21, then 20 and 18. It just makes more sense that kids coming right out of college should have the opportunity to apply to that grant program, not just TOPS or TOPS Tech. So we're expanding that program, but again, we're not increasing the cap. The Murphy J. Foster program is a first come, first serve program. And, we have a huge workforce shortage in Louisiana. And as we know, I think that this administration has done a great job in attracting new industries to Louisiana. We have CF Industries, Hyundai, I think Meta up north. But we need a workforce, and we need a workforce that is skilled. And when you have a person that is coming out of the prison system, we want to turn tax burdens into taxpayers. The prison system per year costs per inmate about $30,000 a year. If we can get these folks once they get out of prison, educated and into the workforce, they become taxpayers, and I think overall better citizens. So that's the goal of my bill, is to allow those with some criminal histories to apply and get educated. And they have to have shown either in prison or before that there is some want in getting an education and having for a better life. You have to have either a high school diploma or a GED. So a lot of folks get those in while they are in prison, and they come out, and we want to make sure that they can be productive citizens. So that's what that bill is about. I've worked with Lobby on that bill. I've worked with the chambers across the state on that bill. So I'm really excited, and I hope to see it to the finish line this year.
Got about 60 seconds left with State Representative Paula Davis, and I'm going to want you back on after the session to take a deeper dive into that bill in particular, because, I do think that has the potential for so much impact.
Yeah. And look, we know that education reduces recidivism.
Yes.
And so that is our goal.
Yeah, and the quick synopsis of the Murphy J. Foster Promise Program, it's TOPS for trade school, basically.
Correct. Exactly. And it trains people for those industrial jobs, for tech jobs, very skilled. We want a skilled workforce, and that's what the Murphy J. Foster Promise Program provides, is a highly skilled workforce.
Last one before we get you out of here. What is the Sound Recording Investor Tax Credit Program?
Oh, so that is for, we want to incentivize local artists to stay in Louisiana. So as you know now, we are seeing our best and brightest musicians leave the state to go to Nashville, to go to Atlanta, to go to LA to pursue their careers. We've seen John Foster, who just was second runner-up in American Idol.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a culture here. I don't have to say this because I'm preaching to the choir, of highly just talented musicians here in this state. And we should not have to let those folks leave Louisiana in order to make it in the music business. So what the credit program does, we're just extending it, and we're moving it over to the Louisiana Lieutenant Governor's office, would spur investments in infrastructure so that you can get, Louisiana would be a one-stop shop for musicians. That's what we're trying to create here.
Love it. Because it was previously with LED. So you move it over to the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Correct.
This isn't about creating jobs. This is about retaining talent. That is awesome.
It's about retaining talent, but it also is about economic development and retaining jobs, because the sound recording industry here in Louisiana already does support about 30,000 jobs. So if we could increase that and create a whole other industry, that's economic development for our state.
She is State Representative Paula Davis. Let's get you back on right after the session's over with for the full recap.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you guys so much.
Likewise. We'll talk to you soon. We blew right past ABC News. Here's your local news, traffic, weather. Congresswoman Letlow is next. Way too fast. I need an hour to talk to Paula. Every time I talk to her, she's so freaking amazing. We speak the same language at the same speed. You saw how fast she's yeah. She's it's like she's written by Aaron Sorkin. Maybe even a little more than Gilmore Girls, but think about her husband the other day, old John. Not you, John. Her husband's name is John. This was one of my favorite moments of the show. Was it was a couple years ago. Oh, there's Congresswoman Letlow. Where are we at on Facebook? Did anybody stick around through all the shenanigans? Shenanigans. Oh, we're getting an intern starting tomorrow. Should be starting tomorrow. If not, she can start Monday. So I need to move over there for 10 minutes after 9. I'm sure you saw. Yeah. You know who that is?
Who is this? Vincent Martella?
Yeah. Yeah. So Vincent Martella, I'm going to give you one line that he says in every episode, and you'll know exactly who he is. Ferb, I know what we're going to do today.
Okay, I cheated. I did look him up. Okay. So
Could not pass this up.
I really never gave Innocent Ferb a chance. But I will say this. Last week when my daughter was in the hospital, it just stayed.
On Disney?
It just stayed on Disney.
Yeah.
And, like, she was watching from the hospital bed. I'm like, never really gave the show a chance, but it's actually pretty cool. I was like, it's a cool show.
We found it when we had Carrie, and Carrie said that's the one we're taking orientation in 2 weeks at the USM. But we started with Carrie, and then it just carried over. They only had 4 seasons, but it carried over to Abby and James. It's smart. It's funny. I'll watch the damn show even when my kids aren't in the room. So, just play the other one.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
I'll watch the show even when my kids aren't in the room. So, they're back for a season 5, and I was hoping to get both
the band who
Dan
does,
Povenmire and Vincent, but I didn't get Povenmire. So
yeah, I'm trying to think. The guy who does the theme song, Jared. He's the lead singer for Bowling for Soup, and then he's also the voice of Chuck E. Cheese.
No kidding.
Yeah, the guy who does the song.
Is the voice? Oh,
the theme song. Yeah,
did not know that.
Jared. What's his name? Yeah, he sings for Bowling for Soup, and he's the.
So I'm contemplating whether or not I want to do the whole interview with a Dr. Doofenshmirtz impression.
Oh man, yeah, that's cool though. That's
fun.
Did you get any like, I don't know, any like cool points, dad points with like your kids?
Oh, huge!
You're like, hey, check this out.
840 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along, moving from the state legislature up to Congress. It is time for DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Of course, Lobby is your state's Chamber of Commerce. You can learn more about them at labi.org. Congresswoman Julia Letlow is on the hotline right now. How are you, Congresswoman?
I'm doing great, Brian. How are you?
I'm finally getting caught up. I apologize for leaving you on hold so long, but like all hour long, each interview has progressively run over, and I have missed soft breaks. I've missed hard breaks. I just it's been a ride this morning, to be sure.
That means you're having a great morning. It sounds like it.
No, absolutely we are. I mean, when the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation comes out and says the Super Bowl brought $1.25 billion worth of economic impact to the state, close to $83 million in tax dollars alone, that's not including all the jobs and everything else. That's just the tax dollars. That's a big deal.
Absolutely huge. And what an incredible experience to be a part of. I was so stoked to be able to go and experience it for myself, and just walking up and down the streets of New Orleans. It was an incredible experience, Brian.
Yep, it was phenomenal. So, on to the next, as we say. That being said, y'all got a lot going on in Congress right now. Very, very busy time. Can we start with reconciliation?
Absolutely. Okay, so we passed our reconciliation, the one big beautiful bill on our side, and so now it is over in the Senate's hands, and they are going to work. I know that they are meeting with the president and hammering out all the details and putting their tweaks to it. But I can't stress how important it is, Brian, that we get this over the finish line and what it's going to do for Louisiana families. And, as a working mom of 2 young children, I truly believe that strong families form the bedrock of our society. We need to make it more affordable to start and raise a family, and that's why the budget measure under discussion expands the child tax credit for parents up to $2,500 annually from the current $2,000. And at the end of the year, failing to reauthorize the Trump tax cuts will cause the child tax credit to fall to just $1,000. That is all parents will be able to claim on their taxes. So passage of this bill will make a $1,500 difference for many working parents. That's a lot of money for our middle-class parents, and that's just one aspect of this big, beautiful bill. I call it big because there's so much in it that you can talk about, but I like to just kind of zero into the things that I'm very well aware of.
We got Congresswoman Julia Letlow with this little DC Current presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Let's stick with the big, beautiful bill for just a quick second, because more often than not, there's frustration that comes out of Washington, D.C. because bills are too big. We never see single item legislation come out of Congress. This bill has a lot more momentum, and it's so all encompassing. Has it gotten bigger than itself?
Well, it's not very often that you get to do a reconciliation bill. You have to have control of all the chambers. Mm-hmm. And so it's just once in a lifetime, one of those once in a lifetime opportunities that you have to take advantage of. And what I've learned, Brian, since I've been up here, is that you're not going to get everything that you want in a bill. And there are going to be some things that you don't necessarily love about every bill. And those I've found even in the smallest of bills that I've had to vote on. But I found that reconciliation is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we have to take advantage of. In my opinion, the other side has done so much harm and travesty to our country, to our nation. This is us trying to set us back on a good trajectory, the right course. So is it perfect? Absolutely not. I've never read a bill that is perfect, but I do believe that we have to take advantage of this one moment in time. And again, I know I always give credit, but I have to give credit to our speaker and our leader for doing an incredible job of helping navigate this. I think the speaker equated it to walking across the Grand Canyon on dental floss. For him to be able to thread the needle yet again has been phenomenal. But, we'll have another test. We'll have another bite of the apple. The Senate, again, is going to have their way with the bill. They'll tweak it in ways that, in my opinion, make it better. Then it will come back to the House, and the speaker and the leader will have to, again, thread that needle, bring us all together so that we can eventually get it to the president's desk. But there's so many great things in this bill, Brian. You want to talk about bolstering border security, making sure that our border is secure. It invests in nuclear energy. I mean, so many incredible things that I could talk all day about.
Well, with that and the High Wire Act that Mike Johnson's got to play here, the path that he has to walk, There's been a lot of headlines about, Elon Musk on his way out of town, just taking shots and ripping at this bill. Mike Johnson's got to look at within his own house, not meaning the House of Representatives, but within his own party as well. When this thing comes back from the Senate, does noise like that from Elon Musk affect things that go on in the building, or is that just noise that we consume on cable news?
Well, everybody is entitled to their opinion, and
that is way too nice of a way to put that, Congresswoman. No.
Well, it's my hope that we will all stick together. I think I've shared it is an incredible experience to be up here and everybody is finally rowing in the same direction. You and I have had conversations how frustrating it is when people decide to break away and become working in their own silos. So, I'm hopeful that we will all stick together and continue to move forward on this good piece of legislation that everyone has worked so hard on, Brian, all our committee work. Everybody has been so diligent to make sure that we are doing right by the people that we serve. So, yes, people are entitled to their own opinion, but I go back to that's just one man's opinion. Yeah. And hopefully we will all continue to come together and move forward cohesively.
Got a couple minutes left with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. This is DC Current, of course, presented by LABI. Learn more about your state's Chamber of Commerce at labi.org. Congresswoman, I want to pivot a little bit to something that's less business and more just part of the social environment right now. We're starting to see, I don't know if we're seeing more of them or if it's just making more headlines, but anti-Semitism seems like it's on the rise right now. How much does that have y'all's attention in Congress?
Very much. It's absolutely horrific what we're seeing. The incidents of anti-Semitic violence, including a terrorist attack on Sunday in Colorado. This was during a walk to raise awareness for the hostages held by Hamas. And then, Brian, before that, we had 2 Israeli embassy staff members in D.C. killed outside of an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum. The common denominator is that both of the suspects in these cases have made explicit anti-Israel statements. And as we've just learned in the case of the man in Colorado, he was illegally here after overstaying a visa granted by the Biden administration, who we all know had a poor record on border security and vetting. And Brian, my prayers are with the victims of these attacks and their families. But we must be vigilant in fighting against anti-Semitism. I was a part of that panel that went after the university presidents, the Ivy League presidents, who were allowing this kind of terrible behavior by their students on their campuses. So I truly believe that our work is not over in Congress to make sure that we put a stop to this hateful rhetoric and behavior, anti-Semitic behavior. So we're going to keep doing our work up in Congress to make sure we stamp it out.
Okay, tougher question here is, can this be solved with the law, or is this, there's only so much y'all can write into without, you can't change hearts and minds.
Yeah, but you can hold universities to the fire.
That's fair. No, that's a fair answer, yeah.
They receive a lot of federal funding. What you're seeing happen with Harvard, with the president going back and forth saying, okay, if you are not going to protect your Jewish students and follow our suggestions and guidelines, then, hey, we'll cut off some of that coveted funding that you apply for every year. So there is power in the purse strings, as I know all too well. So we'll keep doing our part up here.
Got about a minute left. Walk us through what the next week looks like for you.
My goodness, we are going to be in hearings. I had an incredible experience. I think we talked last time about questioning Secretary McMahon and Rubio, and we're going to continue our good work. We're starting the appropriations process. We're having full committee markups, which you talk to me about all-nighters. Those can often go all night, where we'll talk about funding for the next fiscal year and what that will look like. So I'll be busy up in D.C.
She is Congresswoman Julia Letlow, joins us as frequently as the calendar allows for D.C. Current. We always appreciate the time, Congresswoman. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day.
You do the same. Coming up on 850 at Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break to check your money now. We'll check traffic. We'll come back. We'll close it out next. That might have been her best answer yet. She keeps getting better and better at that segment. She keeps, and that's awesome.
Every time.
I don't know what's the feature today because everything was good.
Yeah.
I guess Jay Cicero.
Okay.
Because the rest of them are going to be like Dixon and Josh and Paula will all go into the legislative session.
Mm-hmm.
Moon's coming back next Tuesday. Okay.
Matt says he doesn't know Phineas and Ferb, but he knows Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Kevin says, never heard of it, but I'll check it out. I've been on the hunt for healthier kids shows to avoid inhibiting executive function and brain development. So it's smart humor. The parents get it as well. For the kids, they are kind to each other in their interactions with each other, but every day is about going outside and doing something different. The theme song actually talks about a lot of the different things they do, but it's like how there's a different adventure outside every day. There's something you go do, like, they build a roller coaster. Don't tell Senator Fazy, but they change the weather. Have a snowstorm in summertime. They call it Swinter. What else? The theme song is building a rocket or fighting a mummy or climbing up the Eiffel Tower. Discovering something that doesn't exist or giving a monkey a shower. I didn't realize I was bowling for soup all this time.
It's the guy for, yeah. Why can't I freaking think of his last name? Jared is.
856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is just now occurring to me that we blew right past this day in history with all the interviews that we had lined up. Because normally this day in history presented by 5 Star Printing and Signs. Get a hold of Danny and his team at 271-4096. Or if you're in Denham, right next door to Big Mike's, you know where to find them. But normally we have this day in history at 8:05. If we have an 8:05 interview, we bumped this day in history to 7:55. We did an interview there as well. So we didn't cover any of it today. No. So we'll make up for it tomorrow. I can tell you it is Aaron Nola's birthday today. And in this day in 2010, John Wooden passed away. So had those two. How about that? normally we have the outside in right here, but I want to focus on, if we can, a different news story that involves the entire state. In fact, involves everybody because it is hurricane season. You heard this from our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network, but I didn't want the show to get out of here without taking a little bit closer look at yesterday's press conference over at GOSEP headquarters. Governor Jeff Landry says that, there might be some issues with FEMA nationwide right now, but locally, FEMA or NOAA, but locally, we're in pretty good hands because we've got Jay Grimes in our backyard.
It's one of the reasons that we have a state climatologist. So if there's cuts being made at the Federal Weather Service or at NOAA, I'm completely confident in Mr. Grimes' ability to give us accurate information.
Now, as far as that accurate information is concerned, we're not there yet because we don't have any storms right now. But if last year's any indication, we can get ready because this one should be a busy one too.
Last year, there were 18 named storms. Almost half of them ended up in the Gulf. And each one of those, the state has to start a response activity.
Named storms does not necessarily mean hurricane. That could also mean tropical storm. Jason Mahfouz, Brigadier General Jason Mahfouz says, don't be dismissive of those tropical storms. They can sneak up on you.
If we get a slow-moving storm that sits over an area for many days and we get a deluge of rain, those can be just as dangerous as a fast-moving storm with high-intensity winds.
So we are 4 days into hurricane season right now. Yesterday, we were supposed to have retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore on with us to talk hurricane season and look back on the 20th anniversary of Katrina. I can tell you that as of right now, that interview has been rescheduled for Friday morning at 6:35. All right, we're just about out of here. Do need to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. LandmarkBankLA.com is the website. LandmarkBankLA.com if you want to find them. What are you finding when you get there? You're finding a community bank. A community bank who's been a community bank for well over 100 years now. Founded in 1897. Want to get the latest on want to get the information on their locations? Hit up the About Us tab at LandmarkBank.com, LandmarkBankLA.com. Want to find out what services they provide, not just for your personal checking, not just for your personal savings or borrowing, but on the business end as well, LandmarkBankLA.com. All right, that's going to do it for us. Moon Griffon is coming up next. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. See you then. All right. I got to prep for this interview, y'all. We will see you tomorrow. And I don't know when that